I now want to show you some of the reports capabilities that we have in Microsoft 365. So right here on portal.microsoft.com, I can click Show All, and you're going to see a little reports drop down blade. We can click on that. The first thing you'll see is Adoption Score. Now the Adoption Score is a feature that Microsoft has added that kind of gives us an idea of how much of the features we have adopted in our environment that Microsoft offers. Okay, this will involve their recommendations on things that we should enable, things we should change, configure in our Microsoft 365 environment. So you can see right now it says your organization scores 24%. Essentially, you know, when you have a trial tenant and all that, and you're kind of playing around, you're not going to have a very large score until you start actually implementing a lot of these capabilities. One thing that's neat about it, though, is it'll compare your environment versus a lot of the other environments of the same size. So that's what you'll see here. It says your organization versus peer benchmarking. Okay, and you can see based on these little charts, kind of these little graphs that give you an idea of where you're at on things. Now, this involves, as you can see, things like communications, which gets into, you know, supporting the various communications teams and SharePoint and Exchange and all of that. You've got content collaboration, teamwork, which is just Microsoft Teams oriented, mobility. This gets into managing the mobile settings like through Intune and all that. You have endpoint analytics. That's where you start linking your on-premise devices, your app's health, whether there's been lots of errors popping up, all of that. So what you can do is come over here to Actions, and they're going to give you a list of things you could do to bring up your score. So here it says encourage people to create files in SharePoint. So if I click that, it'll provide me information on that. It says it kind of even provides guidance information on that. Here I've got encourage users to email files with cloud attachments, encourage people to communicate using Teams. Okay, so these are all the available actions that they're recommending I do to immediately see a difference in my score. So that's what the adoption score is. You've also got usage blade, the usage blade under reports. If we go over there, so we can see how frequently a lot of these apps and stuff are being used. So I can look at Exchange directly if I want. Here's a bunch of activity reports on this. All right, email app usage, mailbox usage. So it gives me a quick glimpse at what's going on in my environment as far as the usage of these things. If I wanted to look at maybe Microsoft Teams, how frequently is Teams being used? So you see activity, license users, how frequently there's been some activity there. Obviously in a bigger environment, you're definitely going to get a lot more information here. But you can see that this can be valuable for sure. Keep in mind, each one of these reports can be exported as well. So if you click export right here, you can export this and it'll export it into a spreadsheet, which means you can open that up in like Excel, and you'll have the numeric values and all that associated with it. So those are some of your report capabilities right here in portal.microsoft.com. Now, the other admin centers also can have their own reports. I specifically want to show you this one here. We'll go to security. That brings us into Microsoft 365 Defender. All right, and so Microsoft 365 Defender has its own reporting capabilities and log pieces of log data and all that. So if I come down here to reports in Microsoft 365 Defender, you're going to see reports dedicated to the Defender side of things, which of course gets into a lot of dealing with threats and issues like that in our environment. Security reports, endpoints, threat protection, device health, web protection, firewall. So we can click on this, like I'll click on threat protection, and it's going to provide me with a bunch of pieces of information, such as if there's been any kind of alerts based on malware or something like that in my environment. Anyway, there's a lot here. We don't need to dive deep into that right now. I just wanted to show you that we have reports there. Now, if we go back over to portal.microsoft.com, this time let's go to compliance. That brings us into Microsoft Purview. And of course, Microsoft Purview, this gets into the compliance side of everything. All right. And so with Microsoft Purview, we have different types of reports that can be generated based on the overall compliance. Now, some of that will also seep back over into our, you'll find it back over in the Defender side of things. But right here, some of the alerts that you can have involve auditing. So you can actually look at auditing. You can have it audit and generate a report involving some activity that's happened. For example, if I went right here, maybe I want to find an activity involving email. I can do a search for that, and we can scroll down and let's see, verified email domain. Maybe that would involve an admin. How about let's just do Exchange directly. Might get a little bit more if I do that. Yeah. So you can see all these things, like if I wanted to see a sent message activity by a specific user, JC at examlabpractice.com, I can click search, and that's going to generate a report. Now, the downside of that little report that it's going to generate is it can take a while for that to run through. So it can definitely be a while before you actually ever get this report. You have to give it, it could in a big organization, it could take an hour. But it could still take a few minutes in a small organization. Once that's done, though, you can click on it and you'll get this little report that you can look at. Okay, so that's how that works when it comes to Microsoft Purview. All in all, though, my point in showing you all that is to understand that the various admin centers do allow you to generate reports related to what it is that those admin centers deal with. All right, definitely something to jump in and play around with. Nothing here hardcore I'd say you need to memorize. Just be aware that the various admin centers can generate their own reports.